persevere through all the troubles that they're going through, that they too will eventually be able to call this land their home. Many of them have children that are in school. Some of them have children that were born here and only know here. So, as I said before, if the Most High hears your cries, He's going to move on it as long as you're doing those things that are pleasing in His sight. So, they need to pray and seek His face the same way we do. And I believe that everything ultimately will go according to the Most High's plan. And I pray that it goes according to their wishes to reside here and to stay here.
Okay. We did have a question on the floor real quick.
How long have you lived there?
I've been here now going on 5 years.
And be it the Father's will, next month I will have been here 7 years.
Hold on.
How was the transition from moving from America to the land?
Do you hear the question?
Okay.
Yes, indeed. Did you want to go something? Huh?
We just alternate taking the question first.
Okay. It was I don't know, I guess I came with faith. And with the faith, it somewhat allowed me to have the strength in it. It was a very humbling process. I mean, because I gave up everything that I had in America, whether it be material things or whether it be just the fact that, hey, I went to school all my life to be a computer programmer and eventually became a computer programmer, and then I walked away from that, or just any kind of recognition that I would have gotten in America from just day to day, just somebody saying, shalom, or just, building up everything that was built up there in America, and then to come here and it be totally the opposite. Am I still being heard?
Okay.
Okay, it being totally the opposite, and being in a foreign country, having to learn the language that is spoken here. It was a very humbling transition, but at the same time, it was nothing that I could not handle, and I somewhat appreciated it. There's a different mentality here in the East than it is in the West, and I mean, whether it be just the hospitality here, you could barely, I mean, you can't sit around and eat, for instance, without someone coming up and telling you, giving you a blessing, like saying, have a good meal, So it is a transition, but I don't know, I guess due to my faith in it, it allowed it to be a little bit smoother. And I would like to read a passage that kind of helped me in it as well. And this is coming out of the book of Isaiah, the 55th chapter. Starting at the first verse. And sometimes people think that returning to the land of Israel has to do with money. And a lot of times they'll say that, that I'm going to save all this money, and I was one who was saying that I was going to save all this money. And if you got it like that, I'm not knocking that. I'm just more so saying that I didn't. I don't believe that it's necessarily about that. It is about your faith, and your faith will allow you to transition a little bit more smoother. And so this particular passage, Isaiah 55, and it says, "Ho, everyone who..."
Shib, you there? M70, you there?
Anybody?
Hello? Technical difficulties.
Technical. Woo.
Hold on. There's a problem with the call. Hold on while we try to get the call back.
Technical.
Just give us a few seconds, you all. We're trying to get the call back online. The Sheb dropped off. It's all good. We got something. We already got something. Hold on. How you doing, man? Hallelujah. Let me do this. Okay. You all give us 1 second. We're having just a few technical difficulties, seems like. We do have refreshments. We got some ginger tea, we got some water, we got some fruit, we got some pastries. They're free, of course. Please help yourself. Thanks everybody for coming out.
Actually got some cold water too.
Let me.
Just to let you know, the ginger tea is highly strong.
All right.
What the? Anybody home?
M70?
Or, and I hear you.
Okay, we had a drop call.
Anybody. Shib is still
Yeah,
online.
let me
Just
get
add
to
him.
it. Sheb.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, yeah, you dropped off at verse 1. I think our call got dropped. But we are back now. Everybody, can you hear me?
Okay. As I was saying, the transition I'll put it like this. It's like knowing that you have something in the bank. It's just a matter of being patient. One thing you will learn once you get here is patience. As
Hey.
M70 said before, they don't work on the same time clock like they do in America. As a matter of fact, we even get paid different. They get paid once a month, whereas in America it's somewhat bi-weekly. It's almost like because we get paid once a month, everything just slows down, and the customer service is even much more. I don't know. It's not as good in America. Here, the customer service is terrible. You have some of these people that are coming from third world countries, to be totally honest. And so things aren't the same as it is in America. But the transition is just a matter of patience. If you learn patience and humility, and not humility to the point where people are walking over you, but just letting the Father take over, it will be a smooth transition. And it has been for me and my family. Humbling, but smooth.
The only thing that I could add to that is mine was smooth, but I know the fact that I had my brother here already before me for a few years made it a lot easier. But also I would say that as my brother said, that it was extremely humbling, and it was definitely a test of patience, as he said as well. I'm a pretty high-strung person, and I don't like to wait, and I like to force the issue and make things happen. And I had to back up off of that a bit once I got here, because you only going to drive yourself insane, because the things here don't move the same as in America. Like I've yet to see a drive-through bank or a drive-through of any sort here. Just to give you just a small example, America's hurry up, and get it done, and here it's hurry up and wait. That's the mentality here. Ain't nobody in a rush here. As a matter of fact, on the job, you American, you come in, you trying to get your job done. These guys up in here, they'll tell you need to slow down. You making us look bad.
Yeah, they sure will.
They'll tell you, rega. Till you slow down. Like, dude. They're professionals at skating on their jobs and hiding and trying to go get coffee about 50 times a day. These guys, they not in any hurry to do anything except for when it's time to drive home. When it's knockoff time to get off of work, they in a rush. They hollering and honking horns and yelling out the windows, and they got to go 4 blocks, and they hollering and honking horns. It's a very different mentality. As he said, it's like you come out of a country like America where everything is convenient, and you got this and that on every corner. You come here, it's nothing like that. You have give you for instance, all the beautician shops will be in one row. All your medical places will be in one area, in one row. The schools are not like that. Your schools will be, predicated on the neighborhoods and your community centers and things of that nature. Places of worship as well. They'll be scattered around. But business places like hardware stores, you have all the hardware stores in a row, clothing stores, stuff like that. So it's like I said, for a high-strung person like myself to come here and for me to be able to say that it was a smooth transition, I believe that anyone else could come here and as my brother said, if you have that faith, because faith is the thing that brought us here, faith is the thing that has kept us here. As long as your faith is strong and you're continuing to learn and put into practice the things that we read in the scriptures on a regular basis, because that's another thing that you'll find here. Now, you do have a huge majority of secularism here, but for the most part, even the savages, even these heathens, when it's Shabbat time, they shut it down. You will not see a bunch of cars on the street. You will not see a lot of traffic. It's a whole different vibe, if you will. Or like, say for instance, Yom Kippur, you'll see like the streets closed down and all the children are out in the streets. You won't see a car on the street on Yom Kippur. You'll see the kids out on their skateboards and on their bicycles and they little kids on their big wheels and tricycles and all of that. And that's their day. And that's another thing you'll find here, that Israel is a country set up for children. You could be in your bed sleep. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. You'll hear some teenagers walking by outside. It's a very safe place. I can't think of any murders other than those ones that have been attacks like in Jerusalem from the Islamic people, but it's not like America. When you hear the news, you like cringing because you know somebody may have gotten murdered or something of that nature. Only violence I've really heard of outside of religious or sectarian violence is I heard there was a Ethiopian brother and his wife suspected that he was cheating on her, and so she stabbed him. But other than that, I haven't heard of any other the violence like you hear the crazy numbers coming up out of Chicago or Kansas City or other places. It's like I said, everything moves a lot slower.
Yeah. We have another question.
Can I say something too? Just to add on to that.
Yeah, go ahead.
The funny thing is that you walking down the street, you may see people with the guns too. You know, you have people that are in the military that may be carrying guns, and you don't see shootings, or you don't hear of shootings here like that. You know, it's very deep. I mean, like, I hadn't seen a Uzi until I came to Israel. I came and went to a store, and one of the security guards was holding a Uzi. And literally, you may see people with weapons, but as far as them being used, it's nowhere near like America. I've never felt more. I don't feel threatened at all when walking down the street, whether it be at 10 in the morning or whether it be literally at 3 in the morning. It is no fear.
Next question.
My question is kind of a two-parter. I actually got two questions. And my first question is for both of you, just to kind of comment on how the land is calling us back home, and how the Spirit bears witness that you are home. And if there is, the second question is, if there is, I mean, what kind of opportunities would be for a shade tree mechanic?
The first part of your question, I'll answer. The fact that we're here today testifies that the land is calling you. We're here and we are earnestly waiting for your return. And the second part of the question, well, let me add on to that as well. As I said, from the scripture that I read earlier, as we increase here, they decrease. I've seen it. I've borne witness to it. I'm sure my brother could say the same thing. The more of us come here, even the weather changes when one of us is here. I can remember when Moray Korb came up some years ago. A few days before he got here, it was probably the coldest sandstorm I've ever seen, even up until now. And soon as he got to the house, it started raining. Then we was shut up for a few days, and then the day that we decided that we were going to get out on the land, all of a sudden, the sun jumped out and it got hot. Now, to answer the second part of the question, I don't know of any unemployment here. I don't know of any. You can go today. You can go literally. You can go today, and you can have a job before the evening's out. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you something personal about myself. I have a job that I'm not feeling. So today I decided not to go to work, and I went to the employment agency and I asked the lady, did she have anything decent on her computer? And she gave me a telephone number and an address. I went out to the address, got in the place, had a sit down for about 5 minutes. She asked me if I had any other questions. I said, yeah, let's go out. I want to see what your factory looks like. Went out on the shop floor, saw that he had up-to-date equipment and things that I'm accustomed to. Came back in the office. He said, so what kind of salary you looking for? And I told him I won't work for anything less than this. And he said, okay. So I don't know of any unemployment here. And we're in a small town. So you're in a larger city. If you happen to choose to be in a larger city, such as Jerusalem or Tel Aviv or Beersheba, I know it's even more jobs in places like that. There are much larger populations in those cities. If you don't work here, you don't eat. So anybody who's a welfare queen, a food stamp champ down in that part, that ain't gonna roll up here.
If we don't have
Anybody down there used to eating lobster, and I pray you ain't eating no lobster or steaks and all of that kind of stuff, because you're getting that EBT, hey, that'll go away. For those folks down there who are a little on the heavy side, trust me, you're going to lose some weight up in this piece.
Shane, you got anything to add to that?
Oh, I forgot the first question.
He asked about how do we know the land is calling us back home?
Like M70 just said, like, this land is alive, and if one really understands biblical prophecy and understands who you are, we always, in the class that we teach, we always go over, each week we kind of touch on certain passages, and one passage we touch on is Genesis 1:14, and it speaks of how the Most High, and I'll just read it. Genesis 1:14, it says, "Then God said, let there be light in the firmament of heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs, for seasons, for days, and for years." And what we have shown in this scripture is that throughout the scripture that Israel was supposed to be a light to the nations. And that we also showed how geographically this place, Israel, was compared to heaven at different places. And when you went outside of heaven, you were in hell. If there is a heaven on earth, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come on earth as it is in heaven. As there is a heaven on earth, there is a hell on earth. Anytime we have been outside of the biblical, our sanctuary, it has been hell for us as a people. And so us returning back home is for signs, seasons, times. It represents something. It is a new age. And so literally when we come to this land is alive. And I bear witness that whenever saints come here, and you may hear us saying this right now, and literally if you were to live here 5 years, you would be saying the exact same thing. Whenever saints come here, we usually can tell by the weather. What he started off saying about when Korb came. Before another brother came, like they came staggered. And before the first brother came, the weather was very nice. He came and it started raining and became cold. And then let's say they may have come like on the first one came, I believe, on maybe a Thursday. I mean, on Tuesday, and then Corp came on a Thursday. We were planning to get out on the land on that Sunday, and literally it was rainy and cold up until then, and then literally Sunday morning the weather was totally different. And not just with him, I was here when M70 came and the weather changes, and we had been saying it before he came, like, man, the weather changes when our people come here. When he came, the weather changed, and I mean, it's some of the weirdest stuff that happens. And so it's no place like home. There's no better place like home. I mean, the weather reacts. I mean, if there's different events that take place, babies being born, and you'll start seeing events happening here in this land. And you may be hearing me say this now, and I guarantee you, if you live here, once you live here, you'll be saying the same thing. And so, it's no place like home. I mean, it bears witness. It's alive, and when we return, it shows out. As far as jobs, as he said, one of the issues may be the language barrier. I mean, we come up here, we like Mexicans, you know what I'm saying? Well, Mexicans back in the day, because they better now, but the language may be somewhat a barrier, but there is no unemployment. Like he said, the only issue you may have if you go out on a job is if you got some work boots that day, because if you go out looking for a job, they will put you to work that day.
That's deep. That's deep. Got another question for you guys.
What is the currency
Exchange
from American dollar to what you guys use there? Rate, I guess.
right now? It's about 4 shekels to $1. So a shekel would be like a quarter. But the way that certain things are, like food here, I would say is a lot cheaper than America. Particularly fresh produce, and things of that nature, like fruits and vegetables, would be a lot cheaper than in America. And then you have other opportunities to buy things like in bulk. You have the shuk, or like the city market there downtown, where it's an open air produce market. And I know on Kamashi, late in the evening, Thursday, late in the evening, you can go there and they are practically giving it away. As a matter of fact, we were at one point in time, and still are, we were looking for a place to get a business going. And at the place that we were looking, because it wasn't totally full, we saw a lady pull up in a truck, pull out a cash register. At the back of her truck, she had all of the food that she had bought from this shuk on Thursday night that they practically given away, and she was selling it on Shishi in the morning, or Friday morning. Literally. She was selling the food that she bought for the low the very next morning. So food, I would say, is a lot less expensive, but they will try to charge you rent like American rent. So rent would be similar. So a good percentage of your earnings will go towards your rent. And another thing is you pay, if you are renting here, another kind of bizarre thing is you pay the taxes on the place that you're renting, because most apartments here are owned by private individuals. So you'll see a skyscraper going up and they'll have, where you can come in and buy your apartment. It's kind of like a condo type of system. You'll see that, or a co-op type of system here. And so most of the apartments are owned by an individual. So that's kind of a weird thing that I've noticed here. And then other things like the bus, to catch the bus, and we have buses that go any and everywhere you want to go. And the buses are relatively inexpensive, even the ones going from one city to another. Like, for instance, if you wanted to go from here to Tel Aviv, which is about an hour away, it would cost you 19 shekels, which is roughly about $4.50, not even $5. To get on a bus, like as if you were going to get on a Greyhound and go to St. Louis, you know it's going to cost you more than $4. Or to Jerusalem or something of that nature. It's inexpensive to get around unless you're riding in taxis, and even then, to catch a taxi to most locations in your city, depending on which city you live in a small city like we live in, it costs you $5 or $6 if you were to exchange it to get anywhere in the city you want to go. Now, if you're in a city like Tel Aviv, that it might double, but they pay more in the larger cities as well.
All right, we got another question for you guys.
Yeah, my question is, can you hear me? I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
Yes,
well.
indeed.
All right, I have a two-part question. My first question is, do you have to convert to mainstream Judaism in order to acquire citizenship in the land? And if not, what are some alternative options for attaining citizenship?
No. You don't have to convert. You have, I want to say, 200,000 illegal aliens that are here in the land. You have people who have come into the land and who have married. You have people who are students at some of the schools that are here, and being here for a certain amount of time, they have acquired citizenship or some type of status here. People have been here for a while and then had children here, and have acquired citizenship. And I mean, literally, there are different ways. There are many different ways that people have acquired citizenship and do acquire citizenship here. So, no, one does not have to convert. You have a community down in Dimona, Israel, that the numbers reach up to 3,000, as it is said, and they have been here for over 40 years.